Years ago, when I was a head coach on the high school level, I coached a group. I had a few college level girls, but we struggled with shooting. I started searching the internet to find ways to help teach my players shooting the ball better. I stumbled upon a company called Pro Shot Shooting System. Pro Shot Shooting System opened my eyes to shooting mechanics. They had these outlandish claims that I did not believe. They said players do not square up. Most of the best shooters in the world, they dip the ball. Most of the best shooters in the world, they turn and align their shooting shoulder, shooting hip when they shoot the ball. Most of the best shooters in the world do not jump and shoot at the peak of their shot. They shoot on the way up, or they shoot early. They have something called an early release timing. So all these claims that they said questioned a lot of the things that I learned growing up. I had to reach out. So I reached out to Pro Shot Shooting System, connected with the owner, the founder of Pro Shot, connected with the co-founder, and we brought Pro Shot in to work with our players, which was extraordinary. I learned a ton. Our players learned a ton. And after this eye-opening experience, started teaching this method of shooting. And I saw the most drastic improvement with all of our players. At that point, I was sold after researching, looking up countless hours of Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Steph Curry, all the best shooters, Kobe Bryant, all the best scorers in NBA history. And I was sold on this method of shooting. And it changed my perspective and made me a student of shooting mechanics and allowed me at that point to get good enough to work with Pro Shot. And I started teaching shooting all over the East Coast. Became their East Coast director, and that forever changed how I viewed shooting. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Grit Hoops Podcast, powered by Grit Basketball, where passion meets performance. This is the show for players, coaches, and parents who are committed to real development, elite skills, and the mindset it takes to win. We break down the game, cut through the myths, and give you the tools to maximize potential on and off the court. If you're ready to put in the work and take your game to the next level, let's get to it.
Welcome to the Grit Hoops Podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If it's your first time, glad you're here. Today's topic is shooting, and more shooting. How do you shoot a basketball? How do you teach shooting? What are the best drills to help my players become better shooters? Arguably, we can say shooting is the most important skill, or one of the most important skills in basketball. It can change your team drastically the more shooters you have. It helps your slashers and your drivers and your best players the more shooters you surround them with. So how do we tackle this problem where most teams have one, maybe two shooters max? A lot of teams have kids that can only shoot spot ups. They can't shoot off the dribble. How do we attack this problem of having very limited shooters on our teams? Today, we're going to go through shooting mechanics, the myths behind those shooting mechanics, how we can teach our players better to enhance their shooting based on techniques that the best shooters use. What I want you to do after this episode, I want you to research, go do it all yourself and see, challenge the things that you're learning today or you're hearing today from the podcast. Challenge yourself to go out there and research so you can become a better instructor of shooting, because it's one of the most important things you can teach your players. Some of the resources I'm going to refer to today would be Pro Shot Shooting System, who I worked with for years. They started this change and opening the eyes of shooting instruction. I'll also reference some other great training companies and people that I've worked with over the years, like Point Guard College, Brianna Gaza, who came down and did a shooting clinic. And we had multiple conversations about shooting and how she's one of now, which is amazing, top shooting instructors in the world. and she's newer to the scene and took it by storm. And these shooting mechanics are what she's teaching. We started teaching this system about now over 10 years, and it has helped countless players improve their shooting. So to start segment 1, I challenge you to think of some of these issues, and then segment 2, we'll talk about the solutions to these issues. So to start off, the things that you learned growing up about shooting the basketball, how do we know they're factual? We just learned them from a coach that was just told them from their coach, and we took it as facts. We did not have any research to back up what we learned. We never questioned the things that we learned. We just took it as facts because we learned it at a young age, like many things we do in life. So questioning the things that we learned growing up and actually seeing if they're true is the first challenge that we have to address when it comes to learning anything new, especially with something that I believe is so mistaught and misinterpreted. So we must first off challenge our traditional beliefs and our traditional knowledge that we learned about shooting. Second problem that we face, that we must address, is the teaching of techniques that the best players use is a must. We cannot teach techniques that are just previously taught year in, year out. We must research the best shooters. There has to be research based into our shooting techniques that we teach to kids. Why that is important is because shooting, just like anything, evolves. Players become better at executing certain things, skills, and we must evolve with it. So constantly being a student of the game and evolving with the mechanics that is demonstrated in today's best shooters is essential. We will address some of those techniques now. So traditional myths is, or some of them are, we've been taught that you must square up when you shoot. We will challenge that more later, but that is a myth. We were taught that if you dip the ball, you will get blocked or it will slow your shot down. That is also a myth. All the best shooters square up, all the don't square up, all the best shooters turn, and all the best shooters dip the ball. We were also taught many other small myths. For example, land in the same spot when you shoot. Most of the best shooters drift forward. Their feet drift forward, shoulders drift back. We'll explain why later. We were also taught many other little things like follow your shot. Most of the best shooters do not follow their shot. This is common knowledge, I'll say, now on the higher coaching levels. You still hear parents yell, follow your shot, Timmy, follow your shot, which is a very old traditional myth. I know it sounds good and it makes sense to novice because they feel if you shoot the ball, you run after it, you might get it to put it back. But when you shoot the ball, you want to focus on making the shot, not following your shot. So we're going to talk a lot about some of these myths today in this shooting mechanics episode, and we're going to address how to fix them. Now, last problem that I want to mention to you is if we do not adapt, you're going to get left behind with anything in life. And we know that. So hopefully this episode can open your eyes to adapting or at least going out and researching some of these techniques so you can help players that are coming up. I hope it might be your son, your daughter. You might be coaching several players. So you can teach them the mechanics that's going to help them develop for the future and hopefully give you a lot of shooters on your team, which is going to drastically impact the success of your overall team and those individual players. We're going to do a quick timeout for a short commercial from Grit Basketball.
Basketball players and coaches, want to take your finishing to an elite level? The Grit Elite Finisher course is your fast track to mastering layups with both hands, finishing through contact, and making every shot count. This step-by-step program gives you lifetime access to high-level training and downloadable resources, helping you go from struggling at the rim to finishing with confidence in just weeks. Don't just take our word for it. Players like Diamond Miller of the Minnesota Lynx, Tucker Richardson playing pro in Europe, Olivia Miles from Notre Dame, Jalen Blakes played at Duke and Stanford, and Michaela Blakes at Vanderbilt. They have all sharpened their skills through elite training like this. For just $2.99, you get everything you need to elevate your game. Ready to finish strong? Sign up for the Grit Elite Finisher course today at gritbasketball.com. That's gritbasketball.com.
In the first segment, we talked about some of the problems. The problems were, to recap, make sure you have an open mind and you're willing to change and adapt as you learn new things. Just because we learned something growing up doesn't mean it's right. We need to research and create a research-based technique when teaching anything, especially something as technical as shooting. Teaching the mechanics of the best players is essential. So researching the best shooters and teaching mechanics based on the best shooters. So every coach, I believe it makes sense, you should study the best shooters, such as Steph Curry. We should be looking at clips after clips of these players and teaching mechanics that they execute. So now to move on to some solutions, the first step would be we need to start actually teaching shooting. I see oftentimes we make the mistake of telling players, do a crossover here and shoot 10 shots here. Or we really harp on repetitions. We want you to get up 500 shots a day. And we never oftentimes address mechanics enough. We believe at Grit, and I believe, that you must address mechanics first. Everything from how you hold the basketball to having a turn, dipping the ball, being fluid one motion, understanding the difference between a one motion, two motion shot, following through, how to follow through correctly, what finger the ball should come off of when you shoot. All these mechanics are essential. And if taught to your players, will change their careers. And for you coaches, will change the wins and losses on your team. We teach shooting based on the anatomy and the physics of how the body moves and based on how the highest level shooters shoot the ball. When you combine those two things, you get the Grit shooting method. We do believe that there's different shots for different situations. You need to teach players a variety of shots with a variety of mechanics, with a variety of lift points. Every shot is different. A step back to the right, a step back to the left, pull up going forward, a side step, one motion shot versus a two motion shot. They're all different. So we must teach players a variety of shots. We believe you should address a one motion shot first, especially with younger players. A one motion shot is specific to shooting with momentum as the player jumps off the ground. They shoot one fluid motion. This helps transfers more power and arc through the ball and will allow smaller, weaker players to shoot from longer distances, and it would allow even bigger, stronger players to shoot from further distances. We believe that one motion shot should be used for longer range. It should be used predominantly for youth players and most often females players, unless they're at the professional level, most often female players use predominantly one motion shots. The other type of shot we believe you should teach are two motion shots. Two motion shots has to do with the release timing of your shot. So with a two motion shot, a player will elevate, jump, hang in the air for different amounts of time. It depends on the shot, depends on the defender, but they'll hang and then they will shoot. Think of a Michael Jordan fadeaway, or when Michael Jordan did predominantly two motion shots. These shots are used a lot in the mid-range. So if you think of the players that do a lot of mid-range pull-ups, fadeaways, shots in the closer to the hoop, you'll see they use predominantly two motion shots. Now with both of these shots, there are mechanics that are similar. we do always recommend dipping the ball. We recommend turning, which is having your shooting side aligned. So for a righty, you should have your shooting shoulder, shooting hip, and your right foot more aligned than your left foot. And that should have your body better aligned so you're straighter through your shot. With a two-motion shot, it allows sometimes a player to align more in the air. And this is more an advanced shot for, I would say, definitely high school boys, some more athletic high school girls, as well as collegiate players, male or female, and then obviously professional players. Youth players will stick with mostly a one motion. They'll dip, they'll turn, they'll have an early release timing. Early release timing means as they're coming up from their dip, they're going to shoot it very early and fluid through their set point, quote unquote, which we don't like the term set point, but we will use it just so everyone can relate to what we're referring to. But you flow smoothly through your dip, out through your shot. Some players are very smooth throughout that motion, like a Steph Curry. Some players may have a slight pause, but both relate to being a one-motion shooter, whether the shooter is shooting with a slight pause or no pause at all. The shooter shoots as they're jumping. So they're jumping and they're pushing their force through the ground. Their shot should come out as they're pushing the force through the ground and as they're jumping. A two-motion shot, the player will elevate, but they will still dip. They will have a turn. You'll see the turn, even it might happen in the air, or they might be turned before they shoot. The timing will be different. They will elevate, hang, and then their power comes from a different place. They will get some upward force power from their jump still because they still are elevating. But a lot of the force will come from their triceps, their wrist. There may be a leg kick. They're leg kicking out. That's why you'll see on fadeaways, when higher level players do fadeaways, you'll see their right leg kick. Or if a lefty will do a lefty fadeaway, you'll see their left leg kick, and vice versa. This is very important to understand. For you coaches that are teaching, like I said, younger players, you'll focus mostly on a one-motion shot. Especially if you're teaching younger female players, you'll focus mostly on a one-motion shot. If you have a more athletic player, a more mature player, older, especially a college-level player, you'll teach two-motion shots, especially for mid-range pull-up. Addressing all those mechanics are essential. To repeat, it's a dip, turn, fluid one motion, or having a set point if you're doing a two motion. The other teaching point we like to teach is shooting off the pointer finger or the pointer or the middle finger. So because of this, we do not teach all four down, which is traditionally taught. At Grit, we teach to shoot off the pointer or the middle because, number one, that is your strongest, and number two, it's your straightest finger when you shoot the ball. That has drastically helped tons of our players be more accurate with their shooting. So when your players shoot, you can tell them to push down more with their pointer, and they'll keep up their ring and their pinky finger. You'll see oftentimes some of the best shooters, their pinky finger is actually up and their ring finger's up. Why? Because they're dominating heavily with the pointer or the middle finger. Either one is fine. Steph Curry shoots off the middle. Commonly, if you look at your hands right now, you'll see your middle finger is your longest finger. So that commonly becomes the finger that you release the ball off of. The pointer finger can be used and very emphasized for some players, especially mid-range pull-ups and those types of shots. So if you look at Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, you'll see they dominated heavily with their pointer finger. And when you do that, you'll see usually a 1 down, 3 up finish. With that, to mean the pointer finger's down and the other fingers are up. 1 down, 3 up. Or you might see a 2 down, 2 up, which will be the pointer finger down and the middle finger down with the ring and the pinky up. So we recommend teaching the release this way because it will help the players have a more consistent reference point when the ball comes out of their hands. When you do 4 down, sometimes it's too many variables and you get players that twist their wrists or they shoot off of their ring or their pinky. One of the last techniques we'll mention in today's episode would be the hop versus the 1-2. I actually recently talked to a college coach, and they were all about 1-2ing, which we think is great. But I think understanding that both are essential and how to use both to help your players advance their careers and advance their shooting ability is essential. So when you teach a player footwork, we recommend teach them, start younger players with a hop. It's quicker off the catch and shoot. It gives consistent balance through both feet, and then graduate them up to 1-2. You can teach them both simultaneously, but we really like the hop because we think it's a little quicker off the 1-2. You can also use a hop off. It's a little quicker off the catch. You can also use a 1-2 off the catch, but the hop is quicker off the catch. When pertaining to using the 1-2 is quicker off the dribble. So when teaching off the dribble pull-ups, we really like to emphasize going to the right, inside foot, left, right. Going to the left, inside foot, right, left. But you can also do outside foot both ways with hezzy pull-ups and so forth. So don't be rigid when it comes to footwork. Be more versatile and teach players how to shoot off of any footwork, but try to have a foundation. Like I said, at Grit, we start heavily with the hop. Then we'll do inside foot 1-2s, and then later on, as a player develops those skills, then we'll get into outside foot hezzy pulls or side steps, which is an outside 1-2. Think of Jason Tatum when he does his side step. You step outside, inside. So they're all important, but try to have a method and an order in which you like to teach your players each one of those mechanics. But the main thing when it comes to footwork is don't be rigid with just one. There was a time where I was like, hopping is a way to go, and then 1-2 is a way to go because I learned that growing up. But the variety is the key. Last part, drills. Coaches ask all the time, what drills should we do for shooting? Like I said, first off, shooting is mechanics-based. So don't get so heavily focused on the drills. The drills are the mechanics. So a drill may be, now we're working on dipping the ball. Now we're working on our turn. Now we're working on our follow-through. We'll talk about art more in the second episode of our shooting. But all these techniques are drills. Once your players have the techniques down, let's talk first about drills to be careful of. Be careful of one of the most popular shooting drills out there, one-handed shooting. Why is one-handed shooting somewhat of a dangerous drill? It's because it does not connect the dots to shooting a basketball with a dip. It also can cause a player to have a high set point or have a very rigid shot and eliminate the fluid motion that a shot needs to have to shoot from longer ranges. So a drill to be careful of. If you absolutely want to do it, you can do it, but we do not do it much at all unless a player has a major issue that we might be trying to fix. And what we really try to stay away from one-handed shooting, which I know everyone subscribes to, but you'll know why more as I explain this more. But it's a drill that just does not connect with how the best shooters actually shoot. You lose a dip. You get the hand too much under the ball, where usually the best shooters, their hand is a little bit, right hand is a little bit to the right, or if they're lefty, left hand's a little bit to the left. And it actually, when you go too much under the ball, it places the ball towards the middle and the ring finger instead of dominating with the pointer finger. So just be careful with that drill. Do your homework. One of the drills we like to supplement and change that drill with is something we call series shooting. So very simply, you could set up a cone in front of the player. You could have the player do different footworks around the cone. So rip-throughs, pull-ups, step-backs, punches, pull-backs, catch and shoots. So you teach all their footwork in the drill, and you have them dip you have them turn, you have them do all the mechanics that you taught previously leading up. Another drill we like to do is a lot of shooting off movement, because a lot of kids get stuck into being just spot-up shooters. So make sure when your players, parents, coaches, when you're working on shooting, make sure you can shoot off movement, and make sure you also address shooting spot-up. This is one thing you need to be aware of, especially when you're shooting on a shooting gun, or if you're just shooting in the driveway. You do not want to become a driveway shooter. You do not want to become a shooting gun shooter, because it's not a game type shooter. Now, to wrap up, reminder, challenge the things you've learned growing up. Just because you learned something growing up doesn't mean it's facts. Research. Look at the best shooters. Look at Steph Curry. Look at Larry Bird. Look at the Caitlin Clarks. Do they dip the ball? Look at, let's say, one of the players that we've trained who is she just got National Rookie of the Year, Michaela Blakes. She scored 55, 53 in another game. Does she dip the ball? Yes. Does she turn? Yes. Same thing with Olivia Miles, Diamond Miller, all these players that we've trained. Jalen Blakes, Tucker Richardson. And some of the stories are amazing with some of these players. Several of these players came to us as non-shooters. You will never believe it. Tucker Richardson right now is one of the most prolific shooters that I've ever had the opportunity to help develop and work with. Tucker came to Grit as an 8th grader and a non-shooter. He could not shoot. He ended up going to Colgate University as a shooter, as his shooting being his primary attribute to his team, to a team, on top of his other skills. He was very well-rounded, got better and better of using all his skills. We've seen this work over and over and over again with males, females. Michaela Blakes at one point wasn't a great shooter. Now she is a great shooter. Olivia Miles, all these players. So we believe that any of your players can do it. Kids, any of you guys can do it. Shooting is not something that you're born with. A shooter is made. It's made through focusing on the right techniques. It's made through drill work, consistency, and just a dedication to the craft. So once again, shooters are not born, they're made. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone else who will get value themselves. I share our philosophy of shooting, and I want to hear from you. If you have questions or opinions that I'd love to hear, email us at podcast@gritbasketball.com. Once again, that's podcast@gritbasketball.com. We want to feature you and your questions and your feedback on our next episode. So if you email us at podcast@gritbasketball.com, we'll be sure to give you a shout out and answer your question on the next episode. Thanks again for listening, and always remember to attack first.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Grit Hoops Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to subscribe or follow so you never miss an episode. Got questions or topics you want us to cover? Hit us up at gritbasketball.com/podcast or connect with us on social media. And remember, greatness isn't given, it's earned. Keep putting in the work, attack first, and we'll see you next time.